Welcome wherever you are, viewer. This is another moment of morning check where we are with DAMARIS MUNGAI, psychologist, who has been, she's been here before, several times indeed. And it's very timely today that as we monitor the progress of KCPE exams 2019, schools are also closed for 2 months indeed. DAMARIS, I'm sure this is the best time to talk to parents as they receive their children and after primary graduation, because this exam essentially graduates the student. We have no graduation. I'm sure when you are bringing up your children who are now grown-ups, you never attended a class 8 graduation or class 7 graduation. But today, KCPE marks the end of primary education for most of the Kenyan candidates this year. And we start off, I know at the tail end of this program, we will also want to speak to the single parents. If possible, that we finalize, yes, it will be good, but if it will be something that will spill over to the next session, it will be good for us to speak to the single parents. But previously we talked of candidates or children, pupils committing suicide. We had examples. This year, not even previous years, this year alone, children committing suicide. Today, maybe after this exam, some children would come out stressed. And the good enough is we are not talking to the same children because by now they are seated for the paper. What would parents do after this exam? What would you tell the parents? After these 3 days, some people may feel like, no, these papers were not good.
Thank you very much for having me this morning and giving me an opportunity also to talk to the parents. I think family is one of my desire. I desire to see strong families because from families we produce the best that there is in the world. And if we know how to have a strong family, then we'll be able to get the best. And right now, sometimes we focus so much on the results of the children and if the children will do the best that there is. But I believe that every child is trying their best. And I believe also that parents are also trying their best. And even this time, I believe the most anxious person is not actually the child.
It's the parent who pays the school fees.
And it is not even about paying the school fees, though it is still a part of it. It is about the image
that you get after your child.
Because if my child passes an exam, it gives me a boost. It gives me a kind of an image.
Shoulders up.
Yes. And it's like, your child was the best in this and this. And that is the reason why we make our children get more stressed. But should we, if we look at our children, accept the God gift to us, that this child is a God gift to us. And even if they do well in their exam, there is still a long journey ahead of them. And this long journey, they will be able to identify their God-given purpose in this world. And they can become the best that there is in different fields in this world. And so it is important for us to encourage our children when they come home that whatever the results, they are still our children, they are still the best thing that God has given us.
DAMARIS, very crucial is how a parent can learn whether the child is disturbed after this exam.
When you observe your children, because I think the problem is, are we present for our children? Because being present for your child, even, let me say something simple. When my husband comes home, if he is working from a different office from mine, when he comes home in the evening, I'm able to tell whether he had a stressful day or not. Because I have been with him, I have worked with him over the years. So I'll be able to tell, is he in his best mood or not? And then I'll be able to ask him, how was your day? today you don't look yourself. You look like there is something disturbing. You do want to talk about it. It is the same with the children. We ought to know our children so well that the way I left you in the morning is not the same way I'm seeing you now. Is there something that you'd want us to talk about? Because sometimes we feel so afraid. And many times, even when parents bring children to us for counseling, it's like they want the child to be your burden rather than them taking the child and taking the joy of parenting and walking with the child. Because it is a journey. Parenting is a journey. You walk with your child and you look at your child, find out, and sometimes listen to your child. Find out. Don't be too busy for your child. Have time with your child so that she can be able or he can be able to open up to you and tell you the things they're struggling with.
Definitely, anxiety rises at by the time when we approach the release of the results of this exam. What should a parent, a responsible parent for that matter, do as time draws near for the results to be released?
Sometimes there is very little we can do about the anxiety. We get anxious over many, many things.
In life.
In life. Probably when I'm called in for an interview like this, I get anxious. What am I going to tell the people? Am I responsible for the things that I am putting out there? Because so many people are listening to me. Am I giving them the right information? So we get anxious, and there is nothing much you can do about anxiety except prepare yourself. And preparing yourself is whatever you see, address it. Rather than look at it and hide under the carpet. It is like what you see a person, address it immediately. If you're anxious, tell them it is okay to be anxious. It is normal to be anxious. But should you want to talk about it, talk about it. Because many times, people don't talk about things. They avoid. And when they avoid, these things are still there. They will still explode. So it's better you deal with the issues whenever they come. And if you need help, look for it. And sometimes also, like now, I like it a lot because in churches today, they have programs where they send their children to these programs. Like the ones that are sitting for class 8, they will go to Form 1. They are taught how to transit to Form 1. So kind of, though it's still something to do with money, save some money so that you can send your child to these programs. And it is also a forum whereby they also learn to relate with other children.
To be responsible.
Yes, before they go to secondary, because they have been, some of them have not been in a boarding school. So it will be for them the first time they go to a boarding school. And so it is a preparation for them to go to a boarding school.
The transition period.
Yes. And so if you can invest at that time, invest in taking your child to that kind of a program, then the child will come more equipped. And again, rather than thinking about the exams and the results, they are busy doing something that is productive in their lives. Yeah.
Should the parent, maybe 2 days or 1 day before the release of results, try to strictly or keenly monitor their children of how they behave? Because we've come to understand that most of the troubles that comes immediately after the release of results. Disappointment.
You can monitor, but I believe the best time, not actually before. It is immediately the results are released. And immediately the results are released, the child knows the result. Sometimes, as counselors, we are taught to read the body language. And the body language speaks over 80% of what you voice out. So when you're dealing with your child with what the results has come out, you need, first of all, as the caregiver, as the parent, to internalize and to deal with yourself first. So that as you approach your child, the child will take the cues from your body language. What are you communicating? Because we say one thing with our mouth and we say differently with our body language. And the child will be able to read that body language.
You are accusing with the body language, but the other one you are assuring things are well in the voice.
Yes, and the child will read the body language more. Because as you are telling your child, how can you feel like this? How can you do like this? I expected more. You know, even sometimes a child has a nay of 80%, but the child is, the parent is saying, I expected a 90. You see, the body language, so it is important for me as a parent, look for a corner somewhere, get the results, deal with myself first, so that I can be authentic before my child. As I talk, the body language will say the same things I'm saying with my mouth, that I am comfortable with what you have gotten. We will see how we will move forward with this. Yeah.
That's a great sign. Away from candidates, we've got our children who are yet to be candidates 2 months. 3 months might have been long, almost 4 months again. Characters might have been adopted from other corners of this life as they interact with other children in school.
Actually, if you listen to people, even in their prayer life, the things they are praying about, God protect our children, help us as parents. It's like we pray, Kenyans, we are known to pray when there is a crisis.
We are reactive.
Very, 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 very reactive. So kind of, we are scared that our children are coming home. You see, that is already something that I'm going to present to my child when the child comes.
But I'm worried.
How are we going to survive? Yet, my child is a prayer answered. We pray so much for people to get children. And because it is an answer to my prayer, shouldn't I be able to take this God-given gift and cherish and appreciate it? One thing I miss now is my children. My children are grown up and left home. I cherish the moment I spent with my children, because children are very, very temporary.
In the life of a parent.
Yes, very, very temporary. If I was given 2 months to stay with my children, I would be the happiest parent. And I know the time I spent with my children, I can't regret. I used to be present for them. And I wish the parents today can be able to have that joy of feeling I am happy that my children are home. Because everything is about planning. If you can plan your time well, you will have sufficient time to enjoy the lives of your children. Sit with them, listen to their story, listen to their joy, listen to their frustration, listen to how they interact with other children, so that now you can have time also to teach them on how to socialize with other people. Then you'll be able also to use this time to guide them on the journey they are going to take of life, because it's going to be a long journey for them.
Damaris, you just talked of boarding schools, and I don't know what is your take as a psychologist when we send very young little kids to boarding schools like as good as class 4. Some even attempted to send when they are class 3.
Sometimes I say it's good for children to be in boarding school if the parents are not present. Because there, they'll be with other children who also their parents are not present. And I thank God for teachers that are also parents, because they double the role. It would be good. The ideal would be to raise our children at home up to a standard 8 so that they can go to secondary school. But since we are not able to do that and be fully present for our children, it is okay for them to be in boarding school. But then, when they are in boarding school, ensure that when they are at home, you give them the quality time that they need. It's like you are compensating for the time that they were away. So that is, if you give them your best when they are at home, they will not feel like they missed out on your parenting. And sometimes, even in our busy schedules, if you have a whole year, you've sent your child to school for a whole year, you have about 3 months holidays. So you can structure your time even in the place of work, whereby you can choose to take a week.
To be with them.
Yes, take leave. Be with your children, parent your children. And that one, the children will cherish. I know the moment that my children will say, at this time our dad and you took us to some place. We remember you are present for us. You know, children don't forget. They always remember and they always cherish that time you spent with them.
Kenya in December holidays is quite festive.
True.
Our children will engage in many things. How should parents handle this situation? Some would want to restrict their children from taking part because they fear they will interact with evil characters. Some would want to be free for their children. What is the modest point? Where's the balance?
I love it when we used to have community parenting. We rarely have this today. Though some parents will risk to community parent every child. I personally, I don't shy away. If I see something, I work on it because it is my God-given responsibility to ensure that I shape the next generation.
You know what others have done nowadays? They say, if I don't do this, this is a son and I have a daughter. You never know, this son will come from my daughter and I will have a very bad son-in-law.
True, true. So when we had that community kind of parenting, every child belongs to every parent. And so it was my responsibility then, and it should be our responsibility today. And that way, if it is a responsibility of every parent to ensure that the next generation is what we want, then it will be easy for a parent to release a child to play around with other parents. But unlike then, today we have parents that are so permissive. You remember the other time I talked about parenting style.
Yes.
They are so permissive in that they allow their children without supervision. Because children as children, they will misbehave. Oh God, if there are people that love to test boundaries, they are children, because they are children. And so, because they want to...
They experiment on so many things.
Especially boys.
Trouble. I wouldn't speak much about that.
Especially boys. And because of that permissiveness nature, you find that the parents have given children money for parties. And in these parties, they don't know what the children are doing. And so they have some people they call missiologists. They come to mix the juices with some drugs, and all sorts of things will happen in that house. And so it is important also for the parent to be careful, because you don't want your child to get into a place whereby when they come back, you will not be able to get out what they have gotten in. Yeah, so, and those are the challenges of drawing lines onto what. But I thank God, because when some parents find out that what was happening in the neighborhood was not something acceptable to the community, they go in.
I don't know. I know you are not an educationist, but the system is changing where we get to a new curriculum, CBC. Some people ridicule this, that the CBC is coming home for 2 months. Do you think parents should be also thinking of also trying to gauge the minds of their children, trying to prompt them to utilize whatever they've learned back home, to try practice it in a better way?
True. But this also will also take the parent also to learn some of these things.
To understand, yes.
To learn some of these things and to understand them so that they can help their children better, or to sit with them and to learn from them. And that one will show your child that you are interested in what they are doing. So kind of, if they are doing some knittings, get you also your knitting needles. Sit with them, ask them, how are you doing it? Because we didn't do it in our time. Just teach me. And that encourages your child to feel like she is more responsible to help you do some knitting, or to do some cooking, or to do some crafts. So kind of, if you are engaging your child in that line, the child will be very, very excited to see you come home so that you can do that work together.
I don't know, Damaris, at your age, when you were a little girl growing in that unknown village, did your parents take a purposive responsibility to make sure that you know how to cook, or you learn by accidental learning?
Our parents were the kind of parents that gave us responsibility. You find out how to do it.
You find out yourself.
We were brought up in the rural area. In the rural area, we matured very early because we were not only responsible for cooking. We were responsible for planting and ensuring that we have something to eat.
Everything that is done in that compound.
Yes, your parents are busy looking for finances to educate you. So the other is, they call it small matters. You milk the cow, you feed the cow. Those are things that were so easy for us. Nowadays, the children find these things difficult, but they shaped our lives. Yeah, we were able to do a lot.
No, because it's a different kind of lifestyle, because it's a generational change.
Yes.
Do you think then that should be purposive now? Yours was accidental. You are learning because you are there.
We were learning because we wanted to learn. We had no choice.
You had no choice. This is, you had to go to farm.
Yes, we had to.
Yes, you had to go to learn how to milk because it was a responsibility.
It was a responsibility. We had a responsibility even to take care of the garden. So that was a responsibility. We knew how to do everything. Our children today, we kind of employ house helps for them. And we allow them to do very little because we want them to prevail or to excel in their exams, in their curriculum. The focus is different. And it is still good because I find nowadays the young people they are becoming entrepreneurs. For us, our farming was for our eating, it was for giving friends. You know, I find my children even today, they ask me, Mom, you plant things just to give to people. I tell them this is the only thing I know. I don't have that business
Generosity.
mind. I don't have that business mind to think that this is for selling, because that is not what I grew doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Damaris. I'm finding that we are running short of time, but you can give a glimpse of what it is that we are purposed to speak of on matters single parenting, because we are almost going to permit, I think so, for the purpose of exam again, 5 minutes to 10, but 5 minutes we can lay ground for the next.
Okay. The other time we talked about parenting, and we didn't look at the single parenting, but I would still say the styles are the same. That we have authoritative parents, authoritarian, permissive, and an involved parent.
As
Yes.
you just said the other day,
As I said,
the categories.
yes, those are styles of parenting. But now when we have a single parent, number one is to ask ourselves, who is a single parent? Is it a father, is it a mother? A single parent is a parent that has the responsibility of bringing up a child alone. In the ideal situation, it's a husband and a wife. But now this is not an ideal situation because it's a single parent taking care of the parent alone. Is it a divorced person, or is it separated, or is it by choice, or is it by accident? By accident means a parent just went out. There are those who are raped and they get children on their own. There are those that thought they are going to have a relationship, it didn't work, and so they find themselves having a child alone. There are those probably that were looking for happiness and it turned out to bring a child, and this child needs to be nurtured. And so we look at the advantages of a single parent. We start with the disadvantage. The disadvantage is because of the work involved for this single parent, you need to look for finances to bring up the child. You need to take care of the needs of the child, which are many. Going to school, taking the child to school, doing all these things, and you are still a single parent that needs to look for funds. So sometimes finances can be low.
Just like now, economy is not doing well.
Yes. So you don't have sufficient to bring up the child. So you find that many single parents suffer a lot because they have deficiency. They don't have enough. There is also the issue of discipline. As you discipline the child, there is that fear of, am I doing it so much? Because there is no checkmate. There is nobody checking it and telling you this is how we should do it. You are not sitting with a person. So you have to do it alone. There is also the issue of the child feeling inadequate because they are lacking one of the parents. So there is that kind of inadequacy. The other child is saying, I have a daddy, I don't have. The other child is saying, I'm having a mommy, I don't have. You know, those kind of challenges that the child may be facing. There is also the issue of you as a parent feeling lonely because you are alone in the bringing up the child, and so those are some of the disadvantages. In the other side, there are advantages. The advantage is, if I choose a certain style of bringing up my child, I don't have the other one watering down. Remember the other time we talked about two parents. One is permissive, the other one is authoritarian, and so the child is confused, and the child tends to lean on the permissive one.
Yes.
And so the child is destroyed.
You punish the child in this corner,
yes,
he or she runs to the other corner.
Yes, but when you are a single parent, you make a decision alone. So the child have that advantage. But if you make the wrong decision,
forever. This is a glimpse of what Damaris next time will bring on board for us. Single parenting. I'm glad to hear that there are also advantages to this. It would have been difficult to just ramble around with negatives about single parenting. But what a joy to learn that a single parent back there could still have something to be proud of. But again, as Damaris would tell us, come next time, it will have to take a responsible parent, somebody who will look how to learn, so that whenever you are making a decision on certain style of parenting, you are informed. You are able to take an informed decision based on informed ground that you have to yourself. Of course, as we wind up, Damaris, mixologist. This is a new term. You must have coined this in a proper way. Mixologist. mixing the drugs with soda, mixing the drugs with food.
Yes.
And eventually, you learn that your child has started liking many things. We were shocked even to learn that some cakes are cooked using marijuanas.
Yes.
Terrible. Damaris will come back certainly to accomplish the unfinished business she's got to have with us. Single parent, talk to us, talk to a friend to come here next. We pray that this come next week, the same time. Longer time, of course, from 9 to 10, possibly. 1 hour for you to take care of your responsibility as a single parent. You don't want to miss from such a lady who says she's longing to meet her children because she is not ashamed of what she did when she had time to be with our children who are now grown-ups. They pay visits like any stranger to their house. I don't know kama unachinja mbuzi wakati wanakuja. Nicholas LELEI from Morning Check program. We will look into this if we will be able to get our reporter in Bomet to tell us more about KCPE progress in that corner of the world.
Thank you.